The 2024 Scorpio full moon reaches its maximum phase at 4:49 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Tuesday, the 23rd of April 2024 at 4 degrees 18 minutes Scorpio, opposite the Taurus sun. You've probably been hearing the word transformation quite a bit in these last couple of days leading up to the Scorpio full moon, and you'll be hearing it a lot over these next few days, and probably even longer than that. This full moon is happening at a very dynamic moment astrologically and numerologically. That said, it's important to discuss what transformation actually is when we are exploring Scorpio's energy. Transformation is the death of one way of being in order to create conditions for a new way of being to emerge. The best way to understand this is through the metamorphosis of a caterpillar to a butterfly. The caterpillar uses its silk to create a chrysalis around itself. Once that's formed, the caterpillar dissolves into a goo of cells. Somehow, that goo knows how to form the winged torso that at some point grows too big to be contained within the chrysalis. That's when the newly formed winged being eventually bursts out of the chrysalis and flies free in its new form. That is what's happening right now in the world. And for many of us in our individual or personal lives, we're experiencing transformation. And what we're realizing is that it isn't an easy process in any way. It takes a lot of work to form that protective chrysalis, and it's terrifying to dissolve into goo because then we have to trust that we'll become something on the other side of this process. And after all that's done, we then must find the courage to spread our wings and fly. Despite the reference to flight, the sign of Scorpio brings forth different conditions which require courage to explore. Scorpio represents fixed water energy, which I often associate with the saying, "Still waters run deep." This energy encourages us to dive deep into our emotional and intuitive depths, and often into the emotional and/or spiritual darkness within ourselves. This is a very uncomfortable process for many, but especially for Taurus, which represents fixed earth energy, frequently associated with stubborn attachment to its creature comforts. Taurus does not like to be moved, nor does it adapt well to change, but earth can be gradually eroded by water over time, and now, after quite some time, Taurus is finding that its status quo can no longer keep the secrets of its depths at bay. The Scorpio full moon reflects the Taurus sun's light back to it through its reflection from the dark water. The thing is, the sun's light also reveals our emotional manipulations beneath the surface of efforts to sustain the eroding status quo. Many of us are finding that we can no longer avoid the discomfort of our difficult truths being exposed and brought to the surface, making this an extremely uncomfortable time for many of us. Especially those of us who are resistant to, if not in willful denial of, the metamorphosis underway within us and in our communities and world around us. On an even more personal level, this will be a time of having to acknowledge the dark emotions that you might usually try to avoid feeling. Whether these are feelings of insecurity, pessimism, sadness, anger, fear, shame, guilt, and/or grief, they may be emotions you rarely, if ever, allow to surface. This can be a difficult time for you as you come to terms with the fact that you may be going through your own goo stage, that you're feeling vulnerable on a number of different levels due to the massive shifts that may be occurring in and around your life now. Some of you may also recognize that you're feeling held back by your current conditions, a sign that you may be ready to break out of your chrysalis to fly into a new chapter of your life's journey. This 2024 Scorpio full moon also happens in the wake of a major astrological event only 3 days prior, the 2024 Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, that occurred on the 20th to 21st of April. You can read more about that in another article, but I mention it because it too is a catalyst for massive shifts in human consciousness and evolution. Even though this big event happens a few days before the full moon, it is still very much in effect when the Scorpio full moon reaches its maximum phase. It should also be noted that Pluto, the ruling planet of Scorpio, is currently in the sign of Aquarius, which is ruled by the aforementioned Uranus, and this plays a significant role in social and global transformation as a result of the collaboration between emerging technologies and evolving human consciousness. There's more on this detail in a different article, one about the generational influences on events currently in progress. Meanwhile, let's address the powerful numerology of this lunar phase. The 2024 Scorpio full moon is reaching its maximum phase on an 8 universal day of power, influence, control, and cycle continuity in Western Africa, Far West Europe, the United Kingdom, the Americas, and all points west of them. And it occurs on a 9 universal day of completions, fulfillments, and endings in the rest of the world. For that rest of the world, this numerology indicates a powerful desire to take action to get it done. Exactly what it is depends on who and where you are in Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and the Far East. While in the West, this numerological energy indicates there's still a willingness, if not a determination and commitment, to exert one's power and influence on others. The influence of global transformation is definitely coming from the West during this 2024 Scorpio full moon, as the 8 universal day energy of the Western regions matches the world's 8 universal year energy, revealing just how much the current events in the West are influencing and affecting the balance of power globally. It also affects how the events in the Western world are a bit of history repeating. We've seen this cycle of death to rebirth in many societies before. What's even more fascinating is that the 3 universal month energy reveals the inevitable growth and expansion of the energies coming from the West at this time, as 3 energy is about learning, growth, and expansion. The more the world learns about what's happening in the West, the more the world will better understand why it's happening. And it's likely many nations and entities will try to figure out ways to adapt that reasoning and/or resolve it to their own benefit. On a personal level, you may find yourself learning from your recent power plays or power struggles with others, if you've been having them. You may also discover the power struggle you've been having with yourself, a struggle that may rise up within you when faced with the possibility or probability of having to release long-held beliefs or ideals in order to allow the self-transformation you've been hoping or waiting for to occur. If you're in the 9 universal day regions, you may have already recognized some of these power dynamics within or around you, and you may already be taking steps to transform them and fully reclaim your power in your life. The energy of this 2024 Scorpio full moon will be felt from Saturday, the 20th of April through Friday, the 26th of April, 2024. Emotions will be running deep and with an intensity and brilliance that only something coming to life from ashes and darkness could do. And though we've seen power wielded in similar ways before, there will likely be events happening in ways and at scales which many of us have never seen before during and/or coming out of this incredibly important and transformative time. The caterpillar has entered its chrysalis. The metamorphosis is underway. And one thing is for certain, the world is transforming, and it will never be the same again.